So is that summit indeed in Singapore back on? And will it be June 12th as originally scheduled before all the dust up and the threats taken, the talks away? Former Assistant Secretary of State for President Bush 43, Robert Charles. Secretary, what do you think?
Well, I think that this administration is playing the long game, which is smart. And I think you have to think about the first step in the long game is establishing trust. And with a country that has broken just about every agreement they've ever had with us, that's going to be a slow process. At the same time, I am hopeful, and I think you have to look at that letter that President Trump sent and how pivotal it is. In many ways, that was the preemptive Reykjavik walkout that triggered everything back in the Reagan days. In 1986, President Reagan, seeking a major nuclear agreement with the Soviet Union and Gorbachev, said no to a set of essentially Gorbachev's effort to try to get him to drop SDI, the Strategic Defense Initiative. Within 1 year, you had an agreement, the INF agreement, the Intermediate Short Nuclear Missile Agreement, and within 3 years, you had 2,700 fewer short and medium-range nuclear missiles over there. So this is a long game. It starts with trust, and I think what Pompeo is doing and what the president's national security team are doing is setting all the pieces in place. Expectations are being kept low, which is appropriate. But this is a high-risk, high-reward moment for North Korea. This could be the goose that laid the golden egg for them. They could get the equivalent of a Marshall Plan out of this. But at the flip side, if they back away from this, he may not in his lifetime, Kim Jong-un, get another moment like this, because we would deflect. I mean, we would defer immediately then back to the military options. And the minute they put any kind of missile on a pad that threatened us, I think he'd see a military response. The only other thing I'll point out is that the stakes in this are incredibly high, which is why going slowly is smart. How high are the stakes? They have tested a 35-kiloton nuclear weapon. They may have actually tested a 100-kiloton weapon that destroyed their mountain. But we know they've tested a 35-kiloton weapon, which is twice Hiroshima. And they've put a missile, an ICBM missile, up to an orbit higher than the space station, which, if you flatten that trajectory out, could hit any location in the United States.
Which is why, to your point, Secretary, if I'm North Korea, I don't give up that valuable chit, right? That's my ticket to getting lots of stuff, and I don't want to give it all up.
Well, you know, I think the model that should be described, and I have great respect for John Bolton, and I understand what he said about Libya, but I think the real model is some of the agreements we had with the Soviet Union, where they can keep a strong, if they get rid of these nuclear weapons, and in the case of the Soviet Union, we had first the INF agreement and then the START agreement, but if they get rid of the nuclear weapons, they can still keep a strong conventional army, one of the largest in the world, and at the end of the day, they get enormous benefit out of this. This is truly, I've used the phrase before, but this is an A-frame moment for them. Either they do this and over time they figure out how to denuclearize and they make it real, no more games, no more playing cat and mouse anymore, and they get tremendous economic benefit, or the light switch goes off and military options come straight back to center stage. You
know, you mentioned the Reykjavik example, and many have, and I take nothing away from that when Ronald Reagan walked away from the talks, but the guy he was talking to was Mikhail Gorbachev. Say what you will of him, it's a world of difference between he and Kim Jong-un, and in fact, the tag team pair the administration has been talking to, Kim Jong-un and now his number two, General Kim Yong-chol, they're both butchers, they're both murderers, they're both liars, they've both been caught lying, they've both been caught murdering, and that's a very different couple of guys with whom to exact concessions, right?
So two points or three here. At a certain point, you have to negotiate with bad guys if you're going to get a good outcome.
You're right. We can't pick and choose our leaders. You're right.
We can't. And the other thing I'm going to say is, imagine what's happening right now. Pompeo is the former head of our intelligence community, and Chol is the former head of the North Korean intelligence community. Imagine if you and I knew each other's secrets, every one of them, and we're sitting now trying to get to brass tacks and truth. We're going to get there a lot faster. We're going to get there a lot faster than if we were doing this at a lower level. So I think there's a real intent here. At the end of the day, China also has to play into this, and they have to say, yep, we think some evolution in the right direction is the right way to go. But I would tell you that my estimation of what might come out of this has gone from single digits to maybe low double digits. Wow. I think there's a chance here that you could begin a process, a dialogue that ultimately much bigger concentric circles leads to a change in what we look at and talk about when we talk about North Korea. Maybe liberty somewhere in the distant future for those people is part of this whole longer discussion.
Wow. From your mouth, all right, to the world's ears. All right, Secretary, very good seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you.